afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we have our family podcast, Big Sam, Nephews and Sherry. And today we have a special guest calling all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. You know, Chad, we don't like you because you know what? You get sunshine all the time. I'm just saying.
I know.
Anyway, Chad, how you pronounce your last name, Chad?
Groth, Groth.
All right, Chad Groth. All right. Anyway, he's our guest today. I knew that, but I wanted you to say that. But anyway, what's going on, man?
Everything's good. I'm very glad and honored to be on your show. I'm glad you can make it to the show yourself.
I had technical difficulties, man.
we all got technical difficulties at this time, but we're all good. And
So now tell me, you have the distinction of being, you tell the folks what you have the distinction of being.
Well, first I want to say this is guess how many podcasts I've been on?
One. I don't know. Say guess.
Broadcasting.
It's not Will. It's not Price is Right.
Let's say, Sam, how many you think I've been on?
I'm gonna say 10.
0. This is my first one. So
shut your mouth.
Yep.
No way.
I was right.
He was always right. He was there.
Javier's the winner.
Wow.
Yay!
So again, I'm thankful to be on this podcast and with people I know and familiar with my city and background and.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, Chad.
Well, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Born in Dayton, Ohio, but from Minneapolis and grew up on the north side. Went to North Community High School.
North side?
Go Polars.
North side came out in 1988. And then was ball boy as I was in high school, ball boy as well for the Minnesota Gophers and watched a lot of players come through there and just built relationships with people and coaches and that led to other things and ended up being the first ball boy for the Timberwolves. And it's all basically who you know and what you know and get you in the doors.
So you were there when Doug West was there.
Doug West, I was there.
Sam Mitchell.
So year one we had the late Bill Musselman.
Right.
Bill Musselman, who it was great to me. Bill Musselman, Tibbs was around, Tom Thibodeau, and a couple other coaches came in and out. Jim Brewer, we still remain friends. Jim Brewer's in Illinois still, back home. Billy McKinney was running operations.
Right.
And Stein on the team at the time as well. Pooh Richardson was the inaugural draft pick.
Right.
Richardson.
CLA.
That's a throwback.
Yeah.
Pooh, I still talk to Pooh. I talked to Pooh, by fact, last week. I stay in touch with all these guys. I talked to Pooh last week. That team also had Sam Mitchell, who I also spoke with last week. I keep in touch with all these guys. Sam Mitchell. And I could see Sam coaching again as a head coach in college, possibly, or, even in the NBA.
Is that a scoop in college? I just want to know.
I won't say anything, but I won't say what I may know or what I may not know. But Sam Mitchell.
You can neither confirm or deny.
Yes. Yeah, I keep my confidential conversations confidential. Scott Brooks was on that team.
Okay.
Yep.
Scott Brooks is coaching in the NBA. Sidney Lowe, he was on that team, still coaching in the NBA.
Low.
Yep. Tyrone Corbin.
Right.
Still coaching in the NBA. Yep. Tony Campbell.
Remember him too?
One of the best scorers at that time. And
I
I
remember
still,
him too.
I keep in touch with Tony too. He changed his name and I
Oh.
can't pronounce it right now. We know Tony. We know Tony. He changed his name. So, and maybe you want to get him on your show at some time too.
Well, Google Tony Campbell right now.
So I can get you guys in touch with Tone. So yeah, Doug West was on that team, Donald Royal and Todd Murphy.
Donald Royal. Ooh. Yeah, I
Notre Dame.
remember that team.
Notre Dame. Played on Notre Dame.
That's right.
Yep.
With David
Big
Rivers.
man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, how
And
did you how did you get the
ain't
job?
done yet. We still got a couple more players. Now we had Randy Brewer.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Oh, snap.
The tallest gopher
Yeah.
ever at 7'3", 7'4", Randy Brewer. And I heard he was coaching high school back in Minnesota, but then again, that was when his kids were coming up. So I lost touch with him.
Right.
And then you had Todd Murphy, who's coaching in college. I think he's at Gordon in Massachusetts. It's a Division III school. So he's looking for high academic kids. So, and Pooh is retired and he's in Palm Springs, California, doing well. He's golfing every day. So I told him, me being in Phoenix, you know, he comes here and I go there every once in a while, but I haven't been there in a while since the pandemic. But it is a quick 4-hour drive over to hit some golf balls and smoke cigars.
Now you are in a different business now. You kind of you do now. What exactly do you do?
I am a college and high school scout. I run my own scouting service. So I also put on events, which are exposure camps, basketball tournaments. I assist with other putting together other tournaments and assist with putting on other exposure events. So I do pretty well. You know, the pandemic has affected some things, but it's an ongoing business. I mean, college coaches need information. They take your scouting service. It gets approved by the NCAA, which I've been doing years now, for years. And prior to that, you know, we can get on into later on in the show. But yeah, so I put on exposure camps. I put one on in Minneapolis called the Minneapolis Top 100, or I've called the Hidden 20. I switch it up every now and then, the name of the camp. But we've had several players that have gone off to play in college. And I've ran all my events at North High School. I've done it probably 6-7 years now. And this was the first year. Last year, 2000, was the first year I didn't do it at North High School because of the pandemic, you know, and I do it not only helping kids on the north side, but and we have a lot of scholarships available for kids that can't afford it. But we get kids that come from all over. We get kids that came from Green Bay last year. It came from Iowa. There was a kid that came from Green Bay. Matter of fact, he was offered by Bob Huggins at West Virginia. He plays club ball for Sizzle, for Brian Sandifer. So
Okay.
he's got a lot of kids coming out of the Twin Cities. But that event that I put on, Gary Trent played in that event one year, Gary Trent Jr., Jarvis Johnson, Theo John, Sakar Annam, the NFL great now, Tyler Johnson played in it, and plenty of Polars played in it. McKinley Wright played in it. So I get a lot of the kids come to play. A couple years ago when I did do it, so this would have been 2019, there was Elvis Najee, Zeke's brother, who's a 6'10", 6'10" rising prospect out of Hopkins, participated, and then Prince Ali participated. He's at Minnehaha. So those are the next couple of the names that are the next upcoming kids in Minneapolis as
Now,
well.
now tell me, Chad, now how do you go about advertising these events?
Well, it's social media and word of mouth. It gets out quick. The one I did in Minneapolis, I wasn't sure because of the one in 2019. It was in the fall, and it was a few weeks before the season started. And I was able to get the gym at North, and it was a quick put it on my social media and had 100 kids. Had 100 kids in high
Wow.
school, and we had to turn down some kids. And I said I'll do it again in the spring. I'll take care of y'all in the spring. And then it didn't happen because of the pandemic. So I look forward to once we get things going back again when it's safe, then I'll run an event. So, but I'll definitely doing Minneapolis is on the top of the list.
Now, where else have you done them?
I've done them in St. Louis. Done them in Phoenix. Of course, I reside in Phoenix, Arizona. So Phoenix.
Don't rub it in, Chad.
Yeah. Yep. Oh no. Oh no. I went hiking yesterday in
I
77.
know, I saw that.
Yeah. And tomorrow's
No one
gonna
cares
be
about that right now, Chad. Speak on what, so do you hold them where now? What did you say? Oh, okay.
We go to San Diego, Las Vegas. Been all over.
What do you see
Oh,
like?
Dallas and Houston. Those are a hotbed as well.
That's what I was dealing to ask you. I was like, where do you see some of the most talent that comes out? I mean, I used to live in Houston, so I played in Houston, so I always know that Houston always has. I mean, it's a big city, so they have a bunch of talent. I'm in Georgia now, so it's a bunch of talent, but the games are different. So everybody's game is different. You know, the different styles and things like that. So, what do you see that high school players that you can kind of say, hey, look, these guys have a career at a Division I level or a mid, you know what I'm saying, a mid-major level? Do you kind of see those where you see where their talents are and say, okay, look, here goes these top 100. They can go here, but if they work hard enough, they could upscale themselves to, you know, some of the really, really elite of America.
Well, yes, I do evaluate them and I do talk to them as well, but I do send out a report that's confidential to the coaches,
Right.
to the college coaches, which gives their information, personal information as well, that helps them get recruited. Yeah, and that's all in my report. And then I'm on the phone 24/7. I'm accessible 24/7 to parents, student athletes, and college coaches. So, you know, the phone doesn't stop ringing.
So I
Do
have a
you
question for
find,
you.
go ahead, Sherry.
While you're doing that, like recruiting for coaches and all of that, what is like the best advice you could give high school kids that want to play at the next level, but they don't decide to do it till they're like a senior? You're like, oh, now I want to play college ball. Now, how does that work?
It might not work. It might not
Exactly.
work. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a lot of these kids put in, I won't say put in the grind, but a lot of these kids put in that routine of, you know, taking care of academics first and then working on their fundamental skills and getting to play in front of the right people. That's the main thing. Play in front of the right people, play in the right events, that someone there is going to have your back and try to help you and push you. Social media is a big platform now. Uh, Word of mouth is a big platform, but it's all pedigree. I mean, there's so many guys that want to be scouts now and that are trying to be scouts, but college coaches have relationships with guys and guys that have been doing it for a while, that have credibility. Those who they listen to, and those are the ones that are going to take your scouting service, because there is a pretty heavy fee to take scouting service nowadays. And you know, once again, it's got to get approved by the NCAA. Then once that gets done, then you're good to go. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while. There's you know, a good grip of people that have been doing it for a while that are in it and in it for the right reason.
Something.
Okay.
Back to your question. in regards to a senior that wants to decide all of a sudden he wants to play college basketball, I mean, heck, everybody wants to play college basketball. I mean, when you pick up basketball in high school,
Right.
but like I said, the chances are very slim. I mean, unless you've got great height and great length and work, you can put in the work. I mean, you have good skills. I mean, then you'll get seen. And I can't say there's many kids that miss that crack, because if you can play, they're gonna find you. I don't care where you are. I mean, you can ask Devin George. There's a lot of players that went on to smaller schools that get seen. And it's not for everybody to play in college or at the next level. They're very good. They're very good kids that decide to be dentists or lawyers or doctors or police officers or firefighters. I mean, it's not for everybody. So, but the dream is out there. So I understand.
So maybe with you having so much experience, maybe you can kind of speak on the evolution of the player over the years. Seeing the kids come through the camps, come through the exposure camps. Just kind of speak on the kind of evolution of players coming out of high school and going to college and going to the NBA.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, having coached myself in AAU, you're right. They're going to find you no matter where you play and whatnot. But really, it's like you kind of have to. It's like a system, and you have to sort of play every summer. Go to these different events, because if you don't, unless you're a 6'10" guy that nobody knows about or something like that. And there are a few players out here, but I would say that 99.9% of the time they know where you're at and they'll find you.
Yeah. It's gonna come to rise eventually.
Right.
There's a kid in Minneapolis now, Tino Grace, Demarion Watson, who participated at Minnehaha Academy, rarely played. Now he's blowing up, but he's blown up, and he's possibly a top 100 player in the country now. So, I mean, they're going to find you.
Right.
It's not a hidden gem, too many. But back when I first started, the first couple players, my first event, I had 2 players that ended up playing in the NBA. Yeah, I put on an event in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Invitational. I had Louis Amundsen, who ended up going to UNLV and played 10 plus years in the NBA, played with the Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. But Louis Amundsen was a 6'9", hard-nosed player. And then CJ Watson, who went on to, he's a Vegas resident, went on to Tennessee and played in the NBA 10 plus years. So those guys' work ethic were old school. Those are old school players. They weren't ever expected to be starters, nor did they ever, have that attitude where they were, some of these guys have a prima donna type attitude, and it just doesn't cut the crack for those guys. But these guys played as journeymen, you know what I mean? And they collected a check for a very long time. So these guys nowadays, it's a little different. I think they got to put in more work, because, I mean, the G League is competitive, and a lot of them are seeing it now. Going into the G League, there's going to be a lot more guys trying to get into the G League out of high school.
Right.
It's going to be a lot tougher. They got so many European guys coming over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I see where it's changing. Well, it's been changing for 20 years, but I mean now it's like you said, the G League. I mean, hell, I watched Jeremy Lin put up 35 against somebody the other day, and it's like, dude, you still want to play in the NBA? Like, man, you still have these veterans who everybody knows who Jeremy Lin is, they're like, oh no, he's a baller, right? He's still a baller. I mean, but he's in the G League, but he can't cut it anymore in the NBA. But it's like, man, you got to go through these dudes in the G League just to get noticed in the NBA, and then you only have X amount of spots that you could get from the G League to go to the NBA. I mean, what is it now? They got an extra 5 spots now, so I mean, it's tough. I mean, now you got to work on your craft. I mean, excuse me, everybody has to shoot, but I see it kind of changing a little bit where big men are becoming more.
They're getting back into the groove.
Yep, they're getting back in. So, I mean, I think it's good though. I think it's good. I just want to say one thing before I let you guys get back. I watched Gilbert Arenas, and he was talking about how like old school, NBA was, where it was just like, hey, you're like programmed, and you have like certain slots. Hey, you're going to be the rebounder, you're going to be the scorer, you're going to be, you have your role, which is cool. But we kind of got away from that, where it's like everybody got to shoot. I'm like, everybody can't touch the ball, bro. Everybody has to play defense. Everybody has to do something. So now it's kind of getting back to where, where you have a defined role on some teams of what we need you to do. So I think that's a good thing, though. So
how are we looking for time?
We got like 9 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. I coached boys AAU because I coached girls in the regular season. So, excuse me, I opted to do boys. And I can say I coached my son, who's 28 now, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And that class of kids would dive on the floor. They would bleed practically for you and work on their craft. They came to practice to work. I coached 2 years ago. I had a kid walk out the gym because he said we ran too much. Man, I'm not doing that. I'm out. What? You're out. Okay, well then you're off the team. Like, I'm not going to deal with that. And then the parents came back in like, well, you should give him another. What are you going to do like when your son tries to play for a college coach? His attitude is either going to keep him on the bench or cut from the team, or he's not going to make it. So you're going to go up to that college coach and be like, you should give him another chance. He kind of had it rough. He had a bad day at school. Don't nobody care about all that. You're not going to come to my practice and then not listen. And I put everybody on the line. It just wasn't you. We're a team. If you do a turnover, the whole team is penalized for that. Turnover goes to the other team. You just cause a turnover, so everybody's running. Man, we keep doing this. This is too much. I'm out. Okay. We'll call his parents and I'm like, well, he ain't got to come back.
Chad, how do you, how do you go? I know you have a lot of parents calling you. How do you deal with the parent situation?
Yeah.
I just be honest. I'm just honest. I'm a straight shooter. I've been doing it a while. Either you can take my opinion and it doesn't cost you anything. I don't charge for, I don't charge to conversate on the phone, but I'm probably going to tell you what the next person's going to tell you. I'm probably telling you what your coach is telling you. If you can go, you can go. They're going to find you, and your time will come.
Man, do you think that I just kind of feel like this. I mean, I see it a lot though. I see it a lot of parents are like, man, my kid's gonna be the next. I think sometimes the parents are wanting them to be the next Kobe, Jordan, blah blah blah, and they're pushing their kids like, yo, you got to see my kid. He's the next this, and I'm like, no, bro. Like he can barely dribble. He go like, man, I can see you for 2 minutes and see that you love to go right 3 times and you can't go left. And you can't do this, and you're 18. Like, dude, seriously? No, bro. Go sit down. I know what your heart is. Like, that's. I mean, I've been wanting to get back into coaching. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm too hard on them, man. I'm too hard on them.
Yeah, but see, like with me coaching now, coaching the young kids now, I'm finding out that a lot of kids are groomed to be this social media type of, a generation. A lot of kids come and say, hey, well, I got my little slippers on, I got my little wristband, and I'm gonna drop 30. And they don't realize it takes work to drop 30 in the game. It doesn't. You just don't pop up and just do this. When you go against the Zion Williamsons and the Morants of the world, like those kids put in work. day in and day out. And they don't, a lot of kids don't really realize that.
Chad, I got to ask you another question. What do you think about the talent in the Twin Cities? Has it gotten better through the years?
The Twin City talent is skyrocketed. It is on another level right now. I mean,
Really?
it's on a level. I mean, in a general, I think probably the best in the country. The best.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, you have.
What
would you attribute
The
differentiates?
talent pool is there. The kids seem to work harder. In Minneapolis, they start off with the fundamentals, and
Hungry.
they play the right way. Not to take anything against anybody else, because every place I go is different. I mean, Arizona's on another level too. We got so many guys here. We got a couple potential pros still in high school at a prep school called Arizona Compass Prep.
Wow.
Yeah, and Houston has its niche, and Dallas has its niche. St. Louis has always got its niche. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, the other thing too is that I've seen it pretty much all across the country. But what do you think about the California players?
California players, interesting you said that. They're not to be counted out as well either. They got several guys out there in the NBA and several prospects, and they probably have more players because of the population than anybody going
Right.
one every year. So.
Well, and I think because you go somewhere, because I see guys everywhere. You go like what was it? Chicago area. Chicago's got a lot of talent there. A lot of high schools, and I think, which I think is amazing for Minneapolis, the greater Minneapolis area, is because we don't have a lot of schools, right, as compared to Chicago. And I think the other thing is that it's kind of like the who's who, because Minnehaha Academy is a school now that's being dealt with. Matter of fact, they've got the #1 player in the country going to Minnehaha Academy.
Oh yeah, Chad.
Chad. He's the real deal. I saw him play the other night. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I know, Sam, we didn't get to talk about our time back when I was with the Globetrotters.
What?
Right. That was another thing.
So we got enough time. I can get into that a little bit.
How much time we got, nephew?
We got 3 minutes.
Okay, make it in two.
I'll give you an elevator ride. I was with the Timberwolves, and while I was with the Timberwolves, I met through Pooh Richardson. I met Manny Jackson, who bought the team 92, 93. And he bought the team. He was trying to buy an NBA team at the time, but bought the team and took me as one of his first hires. Long story short, ended up moving to LA with him. We moved from LA to Phoenix, and I've been here ever since. I still, till today, talk to Manny damn near every other day. So he's doing well. He's in Phoenix. He's retired, and so I still do some work for Manny on the side. But I started off as a scout for the Globetrotters. Went on to learning different roles in the organization as manager of basketball operations, tour manager. Learned how to settle shows and how to run a tour. And ended up being vice president of basketball and standards. So started competitive basketball, which we played colleges and we toured overseas playing competitive basketball, but that was the angle we took over. I brought in several NBA players that were kind of out of their time or still into their time, that still had room to play, but we went after high-level college players, went after high-level players. We paid a lot of money. So I was with them almost 15 years. And that led me to gaining all this experience for what I do today. So it was a great experience and a great time, and that's where I'm at now. So
we're down to a minute.
Did you guys have a guy named Joe Player on your team?
Do what?
Did you guys have a guy named Joe Blair on your team?
Joe Blair, I recruited Joe Blair. Yep, yep.
That's my dog from Houston. I know him. Man.
We got less than a minute.
He's with the Timberwolves now, coaching.
Man, that's
all right. Hey, thanks a lot, Chad. We're gonna have you back
Yes,
at some
sir.
point in time, and I promise you, it won't be any technical difficulties. But I want to thank my nephews. I want to thank Chad for coming on
Thank you,
today.
Chad.
His first
Thank you,
podcast,
Chad.
folks. First podcast.
It's not gonna be his
And I
last.
want to thank my nephew. I want to thank Sherry, of course, Big Sam. I want to thank you, Big Sam, and my nephews and Sherry. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much.
Deuces,
Thank
everybody.
you, Chad.
Y'all,
Take it
hey,
easy,
y'all
Chad.
be safe everywhere.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
You too.
All right.